goes back in some sense to the Constitution itself and whether or not it has been relativized to the point where people do not think they have any God-given inalienable rights. And they think that even the individual can be sacrificed for the greater good. The Constitution, as a Canadian now, I'm understanding how amazing of a document it was, and to have been drafted at the time, in the context at the time of people who were smarter and could see into the future because of where they came from. And now we're living with the luxuries of the last 200 and some odd years, and people say, well, maybe I don't need those rights because things are good now and they'll always be good.
In my opinion, no one says that. Here's what people do say. What people do say is, I need those rights, but I don't mind taking them away from someone else. The Berkeley free speech movement. They're like, free speech, John Stuart Mill, they're quoting all these apostles of free speech. But the moment they take over the universities, speech goes. Let's shut down our opposition. So this is a human tendency. Because think about it. Remember when Elon Musk took these leftist journalists and he banned them on Twitter? I think it was for like one day.
One day. Taylor Lorenz.
Yeah. So these people went apoplectic. They were insane because it's not that they relativize free speech. They want free speech for themselves. They cannot bear a society where they are shut down in the slightest, even for 24 hours. So they were quoting John Stuart Mill, and so I think that the way that we, Republicans, conservatives, we've got to realize that part of the way you teach the leftist lesson is you put their rights in jeopardy. So, for example, if attorneys general in, let's say, Texas were to bring an indictment against Mayorkas for child trafficking, criminal indictment saying, you are fully aware that cartels are bringing kids to the border, they're with adults and it's not their kid. And as soon as they come over into our side, these kids are basically put into a child trafficking, because where else are they going to go? And the Department of Health and Human Services knows this, and it's occurring in Texas. And so you're facing now 40 years in prison for what you're doing, and you just show up and we're gonna proceed with this. And then suddenly the left will freak out, the use of politics, and this is what is necessary. I think the founders actually understood this. Our ultimate security is not in a paper document. It is in the rational fear that the majority and the minority in a society have of each other.
And I've been promoting, contemplating this idea as well when I look at Judge Chutkan in the Trump DC case. I say, at some point, why are people not calling for her impeachment, where they've, impeached President Trump twice, acquitted twice, but they invoke those rules, they apply those rules, and then it doesn't seem to be a two-way street when played lawfully. I guess the question is, why is that? To some extent,
it's for two reasons. One is that all these people on the left operate with a completely confident sense of immunity. You saw the scenes just from yesterday, I guess it was, swarming protesters inside the Cannon building while a proceeding is underway. So all the charges that apply to January 6 defendants would apply right directly to all these guys.
Let me stop you there. It wasn't the Capitol building; it was the Cannon building.
No, the guy said the Cannon building.
No. That was one of the distinctions on.
It was the Cannon. Oh yeah,
I have not yet looked up the difference between the Cannon building and the Capitol.
Oh, it's right, exactly. There's an ensemble of Senate and House buildings, and the Capitol is right in the middle of it. But this is what this is really an Obama technique, right? When Obama was always hit with something, he spins back a meaningless distinction, like, well, we've got to understand the difference between ISIS and ISIL. You're like, what is the relevance of that to what we're just talking about? There is none, but it gives you a sort of patina of sort of intellectual sophistication. So the left is going to try to rationalize this one. But what interested me psychologically is if you watch the faces of the people protesting, I do not see in them the slightest hint of fear. I'm going to be arrested. I'm going to be in solitary confinement.
Hunted down for a year.
Exactly. None of they, even that, who's that Jamal Bowman guy goes and pulls the fire alarm. He didn't think for 1 minute that anything was going to happen to him.
He was just trying to get to vote quicker.
He was. That's right. Or he. What is he? A school superintendent? He did not understand the meaning of the side.